So hello everyone and welcome to another Counterpoint conversation. I am Marc Einstein, a research director, and today I'm talking to you live from Gitex in Dubai. And with me I have a very special guest who is Dr. Najwa Aaraj from the Technology Innovation Institute in Abu Dhabi. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Marc.
So we're here live at Gitex, and this is actually my first time. It's amazing. This is now the largest AI show in the world, and I know that you are one of the leading experts on AI in Abu Dhabi. Could you please maybe tell our audience a little bit about your background?
Sure. So first, thank you very much for having me with you today. I'm Najwa Aaraj. I'm the CEO of the Technology Innovation Institute, the applied R&D arm of the Advanced Technology Research Council in Abu Dhabi. Personally, I'm a tech person. My background is in applied cryptography and embedded system security. I have obtained my PhD from Princeton University in the topic. And since then, I've been working in the field of cybersecurity, cryptography, post-quantum cryptography, applying AI to security, security for AI, and other topics. Today, I have the honor to lead the Technology Innovation Institute, where we tackle 9 different technological domains. AI is a big topic for us. So AI research and AI development is a big topic for us, and we will get into the details of that. We focus on quantum, on cryptography and post-quantum cryptography, robotics, especially actually robotics across multiple domains, and lately on embodied AI and physical AI in the form of humanoids, quadrupeds, and other form factors. We focus on renewable energy, on directed energy, on propulsion and space, material, and other topics as well.
So it's quite interesting because in our research, Abu Dhabi is one of the leading AI cities in the world.
Absolutely.
And I think what we've seen at your booth is that you even have robots that can be controlled with the brain. You have digital ministers who can, assistants for the government who can help you, work with you. But, since you're someone with a very, very strong research background, I think one of the big questions is, how do you get all this innovation in AI, cryptography, and other things out of the lab and into the government and into the industry?
That's actually a very good question. And today, what you see we're doing at the Technology Innovation Institute and the Advanced Technology Research Council, we're mirroring Abu Dhabi's vision to be a leading force and to be at the forefront of the AI race and the frontier technologies race, right? So since 2023, we have made a conscious decision to open source our work on foundational model. And this is where we have open sourced the models that we have developed, and these are called the Falcon series. And since then, we have been releasing different Falcon models, different LLMs, different modalities, hybrid architectures, Falcon LLM for the edge, Falcon Arabic, and others. And this is basically the outcome of all the research and development that is happening in the institute. Besides the decision to open source it and basically providing the transparency of these models and trying to bridge the digital divide between the open and the closed source models, there's a very big sovereignty aspect. There's a very big localization aspect that comes from the model. And this contributes to the efforts of Abu Dhabi, the various entities of Abu Dhabi, whether it is Abu Dhabi government, whether it is critical infrastructure in Abu Dhabi across multiple sectors and multiple domains, to basically possess or to have this sovereign component as a model and build multiple applications that are tailored to various use cases on top of it.
So I think sovereign AI is clearly one of the big
Absolutely.
themes. I came from another conference in Europe. Everyone's talking about that. So it's very interesting that Abu Dhabi is positioning themselves, to have a strong sovereign foundation.
Absolutely. And also, if I may say, Falcon across its various releases has topped international benchmarks. It has topped the chart in Hugging Face. And it has been a super strong model that has been released out of the institute and out of Abu Dhabi.
So it sounds like the Technology Innovation Institute is actually doing a very good job of not only making things, but having them in use, not only in Abu Dhabi, not only in the UAE, but across the Arabic-speaking world.
It's Arabic-speaking world, but also Falcon has today, we supporting multiple entities globally, across Europe, across Latin America, in Africa, and in the East as well, in order to adopt Falcon for really various use cases in healthcare, in energy, in the energy sector, and other use cases as well.
It's interesting. So you've actually made something that's open source, maybe akin to Android, that is, not only useful in the Arabic-speaking world, but you're seeing global adoption.
Absolutely, it is multilingual. So today it supports more than 18 languages.
18
Arabic,
languages.
absolutely.
Wow.
Arabic is one of them, but then you have other languages that it supports. Given the fact that it is open source, it can be further localized, it can be fine-tuned in order to be adopted across the world.
So staying on the theme of sovereign AI, how do you balance security, privacy, agility?
It's another excellent question. So we're working, we're investing a lot on AI research, on foundational models, on AI for the edge, but also we have another center that's focusing on the security of those models, but also on the privacy preserving machine learning in general, right? So we have invested quite a bit of time and resources to look into what does it mean to have privacy and federated learning, for example, and then learning across entities and sharing of data across entities without impacting the privacy of these. We have launched a solution called PetterGuard that addresses this. We have been investing quite a bit on fully homomorphic encryption, and fully homomorphic encryption can support a lot in this field. And just in simple terms, this is how can you keep data encrypted and yet process it, right? And as you can imagine, this is something that can support a lot in the field of machine learning and AI. We look into the security of the models themselves. We look into the safety of the models themselves and other areas too. On the other side of the coin, we also look into how AI, machine learning, large language model can support the field of security. How can you use them in order to automate vulnerability management, cyber reasoning, and incident response?
So it sounds like you are really taking a security first approach as opposed to an afterthought, which is what a lot of the industry tends to do.
Absolutely, yes.
Interesting.
We've learned our lessons.
Okay. That's probably a good way to put it. So another question that I want to ask you is about talent.
Yes.
Because this is one of the bottlenecks of the industry.
Absolutely.
And so I have kind of a twofold question. What is your organization doing both to foster local Emirati talent, but also to attract global talent to Abu Dhabi, because there's a lot of competition?
Absolutely. I think if I were to summarize the talent question, I would say that talent finds a lot of purpose in Abu Dhabi and specifically in the Technology Innovation Institute. As you mentioned before, and this was your first question, we're doing a lot of research, foundational but mostly applied, but also we have this end-to-end mechanism for this work that is being developed in order to be applied and in order to be deployed in real environments, right? So the researchers, they find a purpose in what they are doing. Besides that, there is today a very big fusion of a bold vision when it comes to AI, to frontier technologies, etc. There is a very focused execution. There is a very high quality of life in Abu Dhabi. And as I mentioned, there is this circular innovation model from the lab to the testing or staging environment to an actual production environment. And as you can imagine, these are things that attract talent quite a bit, let alone that, there is the layers of hierarchy here, they almost don't exist, right? So there is a very sharp focus on execution, and we do all the processes are tailored for for that. You see a lot of sandboxes that are being established, and the time to move from the sandbox to reality is a matter of months and not a matter of years, as in other places, right? So to go back to your question, in TII today we have around 1,000 or so, yes, 1,000 plus researchers. So that's, as you can imagine, it's a big research institute. We have around a little bit less than 300 UAE nationals that are in the institute. A lot of them are researchers that have already obtained their PhD, that have already obtained their postdocs, and that they basically have done a career in research and technology. But we also have what we call the Next Tech program, and this is the program where we support the UAE nationals in their postgraduate education, and then this will be aligned into the various areas that they will be doing in TII. At the level of the institute overall, we have 85 plus nationalities, so you can just
85.
imagine the diversity. Wow. And also the depth of knowledge and the sum of knowledge that we have in Abu Dhabi based on that. All of these 1,000 plus researchers that I mentioned are based in Abu Dhabi, but also we complement our skills and our capabilities with collaborations. We believe in the power of collaboration. We have more than 100 collaborations with institutes, with universities worldwide, of course, inside the country, but also in the West and in the East. And what we do is we work with the best let's say, research groups, with the best institutes that are specialized in the areas that complement what we are doing internally and what we are doing for Abu Dhabi and the UAE.
Right. So that kind of leads me into my next question, which is, I think Falcon is very famous, rightfully so, Absolutely. For what it's accomplished. But one of the things about walking around here at Gitex is that, there are tons of organizations, all sorts of organizations showing what they're doing with AI, be it police, the water department, immigration. Besides Falcon, could you talk about some of the other industries where your research has made an impact?
Absolutely. So one of the big areas today that we're focusing on is autonomous systems and robotics. And there you have this very nice symbiotic relationship, as I say, right, between robotics and AI. We work on aerial robotics, and we have done a lot of research, we have done a lot of development, but also we have done a lot of deployment of those systems. Whether it is the single aerial platform that you can purpose for any use case. So for use cases of indoor navigation, for use cases of inspection, for use cases of climate tech. And in fact, one of the startups that we spun off was based on climate tech. It's called Nabat AI. We also work on swarms of drones. So you can imagine today the power of having multiple drones that are flying together, you have a whole pipeline of a swarming pipeline that is guiding them, and then they have to execute a specific mission. Imagine their power in search and rescue. So this is something that we focus on for civil defense, for inspection use cases, for agriculture use cases, for climate use cases, and what have you, right? There is a big power behind let's say, a flock of drones that is navigating autonomously, that has AI on the edge in order to recognize object, in order to do specific autonomous decisions. We also work on ground autonomy. We work on marine autonomy, both on water and underwater. And there, the use cases are also big. And we're focusing a lot on embodied AI and whole body control. Also, there's a very nice mesh between these two topics. And this is where we work on humanoids, this is where we work on quadrupeds, and this is where we work on, this multiple form factors that can use that. In fact, if you look at Abu Dhabi today, it's one of the leading capitals when it comes to mobility deployment. It's one of the leading capitals to have those test beds, but also to deploy. You see autonomous taxis in the street, you see humanoids that are being deployed, you see dogs that are being deployed, you see air taxis as well. And then I think 2026 will be the year where these technologies will be deployed at large. As I mentioned before, also we have a crypto center, and this is where we're working on post-quantum security. Quantum is the other topic that personally I feel it's a very, very important technology to invest in strategically, but also it's a very important technology for national security and sovereignty. The UAE has been one of the leading countries when it comes to post-quantum migration, with all the efforts that the National Cybersecurity Council has been doing in order to move entities to the post-quantum and the quantum safe era. So there's a lot of work that's happening there. Privacy preserving machine learning is another area. Blockchain is another area. And in fact, yesterday we announced with the Abu Dhabi government, ADREC, DMT has announced the blockchain project for real estate in Abu Dhabi, and the ambition there is great. Then we also are working on new imaging technologies, for example, and we have developed a synthetic aperture radar for subsurface imaging. And there you can imagine that's the multitude of use cases. It serves, whether it is water use cases, detection of water leakage, border security, archaeological remain finding. This is actually one of the projects that we have that went international. We're engaged with Italy, for example, in the south of Italy, in a project for archaeological discovery. Let's say we're also deploying it at large here. We're working on new laser technologies. There is a lot of research that we're doing there. We're also collaborating with companies on medical laser usage. For example, this same center has launched the largest electromagnetic compatibility lab. Here we're working on stealth technologies, etc. Other areas of tech that we're focusing on have to do with water technologies. So whether this is related to desalination, whether this is related to brine management and others. I mentioned post-quantum before. We have a large quantum center. So what we're doing today in Abu Dhabi in TII is the development of the first sovereign quantum computer. We have a quantum computing lab in Abu Dhabi, and we're working on the development of the first QPUs, but also we work on the entire value chain. So we work on the control electronics, and we work also at the algorithmic side. So we're investing a lot of research, but also of actual development, to start pushing it into reality on quantum-inspired algorithms and quantum enhanced algorithms. We're working on quantum sensing. So we're mainly focusing on magnetometers, on magnetic sensors, purposing them primarily for navigation, but also we're working with entities in Abu Dhabi on quantum sensing. One of them is ADNOC. This is one of the partnerships that we have announced late last year. We're also working on quantum communications, so quantum key distribution, and we've had multiple deployments also that are public and that we have announced. We also have launched the optical quantum ground station that we have developed in collaboration with the UAE Space Agency as well. And there are many topics I can go through. It will take me the entire day to explain what we're doing, but this gives you a flavor of the real emphasis on research that we have in Abu Dhabi, the UAE, with an absolutely global ambition to be leading in AI, to be leading in quantum and many other frontier technologies.
It's quite remarkable. So I think, one of the takeaways from what I've heard from you, but also from the show, is that Abu Dhabi is really emerging into a robotics hub and capital of the world. The show is full of examples. Yeah. We've seen the flying taxis that are coming soon. I think downstairs you even have a hand that can sort out avocados based on ripeness.
Absolutely,
there are a myriad of use cases. Quantum also is a key focus. And I agree with you, is going to be more critical than most people realize today.
Absolutely.
So it's very interesting that you kind of are pioneering many aspects of quantum today. So that's just, it's remarkable. And also the imaging. I remember reading a few months ago in the paper that using that technology, you found some new archaeological sites in the UAE, which was powered by that technology. So that's also amazing. I think the last question that I want to ask you, and again, is a question that everybody's asking and there's no clear answer, but with all this innovation in AI and other technologies, how do you ensure that AI is ethical?
Look, I think this is a very big question, right? And the question of is it ethical or non-ethical, this is debatable, right? So today, maybe just taking a step back, and as you mentioned, there are lots of research areas Abu Dhabi is focusing on, at the front of which is artificial intelligence. But besides the research aspect, which is very big, there's a lot that has been invested in the research and the development of sovereign foundational model and the security of the foundational model, etc. What I do believe really sets Abu Dhabi aside and the UAE aside is these systems are made for a purpose, and the purpose is the adoption, right? So you see this booth here, you see the ambition to become an AI native government, you see all the initiatives that have to be done. And because it is done for a purpose, the AI is being developed in a way that is secure, that is safe, and that is, I will put it into quotes, into ethics, right? So basically you will have to ensure to the best level possible the non-bias of data. You will need to ensure that you have a clean and high quality data pipeline when you're training your models, when you're fine-tuning the models, etc. The other thing is you will need to ensure that while you're training or fine-tuning, we're not basically, where the data needs to be private and anonymous. This is indeed being preserved. One of the other things that there's a very big advocacy from Abu Dhabi, from TII, is to work cross borders on the topics of privacy, ethics, security, etc., because this will become very, very relevant. Right. And then also when you see how AI is being applied. So today, if you go to the booth and you see how AI is being applied, one of the platforms actually that you see down is called Tactica AI. And this is one of the platforms that we have built on top of Falcon. And then that does a data fusion from multiple sources of data and provides you information related to Earth, related to, let's say, satellite intelligence, related to situational awareness, related to other topics, right? So this is to say that these platforms are being built. You will need to have a clean data source. You need to have a clean data pipeline. And then the way it is being used today is for a good reason, right? It is being used for managing energy resources. It's being used for managing water resources, for crisis management, etc. And then so the models have to have certain standards. Today you have many benchmarks in order to evaluate the accuracy and the performance of the models across many benchmarks, across math benchmarks, language benchmarks, text benchmarks, across reasoning, IQ, etc. I'm not sure there is something today that tells you this is ethical or not, right? So you need, as a system designer, as a scientist, as a researcher, you need to bound the limits of this model with what I mentioned before: security, safety, non-bias, clean pipeline of data. Hopefully at one point we can come to say, okay, this is the standard of what ethics is, and in a way to have a global understanding of that. Because today I still believe that this is subject to interpretation.
I would agree with that. More work needs to be done, but it's interesting that you are trying to think of this as a forethought rather than an afterthought.
Absolutely.
Often happens.
And it has to do with the fact that it's not being done to be shelved or just, it's being done as, an attempt to really push the state of the art, but at the same time to be used, and for it to be used in a production environment where your citizens are using it, where your government entities are using it, where the global audience is using it. It has to have specific quality ticks, and what I mentioned before are these, and of course beyond this.
Great. Well, I think you've given us an excellent summary of
Thank
all the research that is going on in Abu Dhabi, driving AI.
A small snippet of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably stay here all day, but
Yeah.
it's very impressive that you're doing
Thank you
so
very
many
much.
things, and I think Abu Dhabi is deservedly one of the leading AI cities in the world. So this has been
Absolutely.
a fascinating talk. So I
Thank you
thank you
very
very
much.
much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mark.
So this was Marc Einstein live from Gitex 2025. Thank you very much for watching.